Pro, which keeps things quiet on the outside, which feels weird actually. But hey, man, great fights tonight. I had a great time at my job. Done work now. On Sportscenter, we got to analyze McGregor versus Poirier and how awesome that was. I love this job. I'm on a weird trip. I'm on a weird trip right now of trying to find truths of what's really happening, not narratives, not storytelling, not cliches, not sound bites. I'm trying to find truths. And my friends at TSN are so encouraging of that and accepting of that and welcoming of that. It's just such a gift, and it's the same thing with these guys too. Man, they're so encouraging of me being able to look at things differently, and we're doing some fun stuff. I'll talk about this next week. But Dustin Poirier, awesome. Before we go anywhere into Poirier McGregor, how about Michael Chandler? I start with Michael Chandler. Does this sound okay? Because my mic seems to be hidden by my earmuffs. Please let me know. Yes, I'm wearing this because it's my YouTube channel, and that's the end of my night. Thanks for hanging, everybody. So Michael Chandler is a friend. It sounds good. Thank you. It's a little echoey, I realize. I got to work on that. How's my new studio, by the way? Super, I'll show you around. Similar, but I redid it. Quickly, anybody who's wanting to start their own YouTube channel, anyone who's starting to wants to do their own podcast, anything like that, we got $100 worth of fake brick right here. We got $50 worth of IKEA shit right here. We got a desk. I earned that belt fighting. And I got $200 worth of lights from Amazon. I got a $40 stand, and I'm talking to you in my iPhone 12, although for some reason it's not standing as well as it was. That's on me. But hey, that's the excitement of being able to do all your own shit, and it is exciting. Oh, there we go. That's much better. It is exciting to be able to have your own lab to hang out and do your work and your analysis. And so, yes, Michael Chandler. So happy for that guy. I am very, very, very grateful. Chandler for the kill. Been a fan of his for years, says my friend Adam. I will do my best. Right now, my vision's not bad. To take some questions and hang and chat. Robin, the man. What a night of hostilities, indeed. It was a great night of hostilities. Chandler's a friend. Over the last couple of years, well, it's been a year now. I've been working directly with Bellator. My UFC work is for the broadcast partner in Canada, so I don't get as much access to footage or using to do breakdowns or get close to the fights. So I've gotten to know a lot of the Bellator fighters closer and more in depth, and got to know their work better. How was the Sportscenter experience? So I'm going to talk about Michael Chandler in a bit, but this might be interesting to some people. Most people don't work on Sportscenter. And so it's something I can give you insight into. It's actually awesome. I have got to work in a number of different places. Dana White actually hired me to talk about McGregor versus Mayweather for ESPN. I've been down to Fox. I do a bunch of work in America. I was at Viacom with Bellator. I've worked in different levels in different places, and Sportscenter in Canada is a very different thing. There's a very real honesty. I don't want to over brag about Canadians. We Canadians are dorks. Look at me. Look what I'm doing right now. At the end of a fun day, I'm very lucky. I'm very thankful. But yeah, it's cool. I fortunately, somebody mentioning my shirt. Yes, I'm dressed well today. I fortunately work for some really great people, very encouraging people. My desire, again, you're on my YouTube channel right now, and I'm thankful. On a YouTube channel, you get to do this all you want. My desire is to unpack the narratives, the cliches, the sound bites that we have spent the last 20 or 30 years building, particularly in sports and entertainment, and reverse engineer them back to truth. When you first work in television in particular, but any type of media, there is a slow tendency to move towards sound bites and, say things that hook the audience. And that's nobody's fault. That's That's been the machine. That's what we've tried to do. You've decided to spend time watching SportsCenter on your TV or watch the UFC or whatever you're watching, football, whatever. And our job is to give you something, entertainment, hook, thought, whatever. And so to do that, we were slowly getting more and more concise sound bites, tell the story, explain the narrative. I believe we've swung too far that way with the pendulum, that we're now talking in this way, and we think that we're thinking in this way. We North Americans in particular, but I think all over the world, we start thinking in these paradigms, in these clear paradigms. And so my desire with my job, I'm one of the few. This I think is my responsibility. I'm literally sitting here wearing an animal hat. Talking on YouTube. Thankful for you guys being here, but I think it's my responsibility. I realize how ridiculous it is when I say this wearing this hat, but I think it's my responsibility to try to do something more meaningful. I've said this many times. I've said it recently. I did not come down this path so that one day I'd get to wear an expensive suit and yell knockout power with both hands, striker versus grappler in a stylistic matchup if this guy gets it to the ground heel. I didn't do that. That's not what I was looking, that's not why I'm here. I'm hoping to break through some plateaus to explain things, stir things up, expose some ideas, create some thinking, learn some lessons through the study of martial arts. Um, and I can't do that. So I happen to work in an environment, both my major jobs, Bellator as working for their digital company and TSN analyzing the UFC, where these people are very kindly empowering me to go down these routes. I'm very thankful. So with that in mind, let's see what we can think about and see what we can discern from looking at Mike's performance and his path and Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. I know I'm 7 minutes in. I'm super thankful you guys are hanging out with me because I'm taking a long time to get to any of the shit you came here to probably talk about. So thank you for that. Michael Chandler, I've had the good fortune to analyze his work for many years. My friend John Ramdeen and I used to work at a place called Fight Network. Robin, aloha. It's Dave from Max's home state. Hey, Dave from Hawaii. What up? Um, my friend Ramdeen and I used to really be into analyzing Chandler. I am not trying to stake claim to anything, but you don't have to look too far on YouTube, Googling my name or YouTube searching my name and Jorge Masvidal or Michael Chandler or Holly Holm or Duho Choi or Cub Swanson or any of these particular fighters that later broke out. We were sitting there going, man, these are our guys. These are Carlos Condit before he even broke out. These are our guys. Why? Well, we had the good fortune, John and I, to be able to go back. So imagine this. I'm very thankful today for my time at Fight Network. 3 people who don't follow my gig all that deeply, and I don't blame you. Some of you may have just discovered one of my breakdowns fucking a month ago. You don't know where I come from. But 3 years ago, I worked for a company called Fight Network, and they laid off everybody in the time of digital change. They were like, I think this YouTube and social media thing is a fact. They didn't say that, but that's sort of what a lot of companies were kind of doing. That was a reaction that companies were doing at the time. And I was super mad. Now I'm super thankful. One, here I am hanging out, making double what I used to make, and I don't like to talk about money, to gain the freedom to be able to explore my passion and share it in any way I want with very few bosses, even in, this is a real job. And these people are just like, you're a different artist, don't fuck anything up, but be innovative and explore shit. TSN, mainstream sports center in Canada. They are allowing and encouraging me to explore things in different ways. I'm very lucky. But Fight Network, 3 years ago when they released us, before that, it was a 24-hour fight channel. So we would literally have to fill content. And they didn't even call it content then. It was just TV or shows or whatever. Content is a fairly new word being used in that way. And we would just have to do 24 hours a day of stuff. So we would get these old fights from Pancrase, from Sengoku. I always mix up Sengoku and Sudoku, but I'm pretty sure it was Sengoku. Deep, Deep was this brilliant organization, all these Japanese organizations that we got the contracts to in Canada. And then John Ramdeen and I would go back and commentate them all. So before I ever left that company, I had commentated honestly 300 shows. Tonight was only UFC 257. I've commentated more fight shows, and some of them had 20, 30 fights than there have been UFCs. So that being put into that environment, and me and my buddy and our friends who were the producers and the editors, we'd build a show and then we'd commentate it. And we did hundreds of these, hundreds and hundreds. We'd do 2, 3, 4 a week sometimes. Then we traveled over to Russia, and for 18 days, we would do 8 hours a day of commentary. All of that allowed me to see these fighters at different stages and look at it in different ways. Pre-narratives. Today, we hear a particular narrative, and let's go to, say, McGregor versus Poirier. On Monday morning, the narrative will be the leg kicks, the leg kicks, the leg kicks. Because Connor maybe boxed too much. That might be one. And that was something we talked about tonight at Sportscenter. And then it'll be into Dustin Poirier. Connor himself said, inactivity. These narratives now exist. They will be the narratives. When somebody asks me to come on the podcast Monday, they'll say, well, what about the leg kicks? How's Connor going to prepare next time for leg kicks? That's not real. Conor McGregor, of course, was prepared for leg kicks. If we think of it, if it's being discussed in the ether, you don't think John Kavanagh and Conor McGregor are preparing for leg kicks? Of course they are. They just didn't prepare as well as Poirier prepared to execute them. That's simple. Michael Chandler is good looking. He's got a big old body, Daniel Cormier. Cormier is a character, man. Cormier, he's a real sweet guy too, real wonderful guy. But so these narratives will be created, and these will be the talking points. They'll be the only talking points. Here's the thing. When I watch fights, I turn it on sometimes, and these commentators, many of them are my friends, and they're my contemporaries, and some of them are coworkers, some of them are former coworkers, some of them they're my peers, and I like a lot of them. So I will watch their work because, Dan Hardy's great at his job, and so I'll listen to him. Joe Rogan is one of my favorite people in the world. He's been incredibly generous and helped me in my career. The house that my wife and I bought a few years ago, I don't know if I would have been able to buy that without a couple of key recommendations Joe Rogan made that helped me build an income that helped, you know what I mean? Like these are wonderful people. John Anik is a very close friend. So sometimes I'll listen to them, but other times I won't. Purposefully, I'll turn it off. And I encourage people to do this. Again, not because they're not awesome. They're fun. They add something to it. That's a part of it. But I turn on music. Sometimes I turn on binaural beats. I'm going to play some for you. Most people have probably heard of what a binaural beat is. Robin, give me credit. I am the guy that asked if it should dust and takedown. Hey, man, I'm not trying to, not be cool with you here, but, I mean, nobody else said that. I get it. It's cool. Of course. We're all trying to figure out what could happen, and we're using what happened in the past and combining it with what we think we know, and that's okay. But there's so much that we don't know. And the important thing is to focus on how little we know. If you focus on how little you know, you open up your ability to learn more things. If you focus on what you do know, you might start blocking out other things and looking to only see the thing you're looking to see. So I was about to show you that, but I was going to show you on YouTube or play it on YouTube, but obviously I'm currently on YouTube, so I don't know how to do that. But binaural beats is just a repetitive type of sonic wavelength. This makes me sound real weird, especially with the hat. Hey, maybe I'm entering the weird fucking phase of my, the weirder phase of my analysis. Also, I poured myself some tequila. I haven't had it yet. This will be my after work tequila. We're gonna get weird. But yeah, man, I took some time off, took a month off to examine some new things, work on some stuff with my friends at Bellator to really flush out some things, some new ideas. You look fine, bro. Thanks. If this is looking fine, I mean, shit, we're in a global pandemic, right? All rules are off, are they not? Right? We're in a lockdown. I mean, what should I be doing? I spend my days analyzing combat. I should be wearing this hat probably, hanging out on YouTube, doing my thing. I'm so thankful for you guys. It's fucking 2:00 in the morning. I've worked all day. I drank iced coffee from 9 to 11. So I'm pretty amped up. So being able to have a beer with your friends and talk about fighting, and I realize I'm talking about some nonsense here, like full on open ended podcast nonsense. Um, so the fact that anybody likes some of hearing some of my thoughts is an incredible fucking generous generous gift to me. So do you think that Conor McGregor can win against Dustin in a rematch? That's a fucking great question. Do you know why? Because all we got to do is go back 3 hours, and then we would ask, do you think Dustin Poirier can win against Conor McGregor in a rematch? 2 hours ago, we did not know the answer to that. I don't know. Now we do. We know the answer to that. Dustin Poirier did win against Conor McGregor in a rematch. If he could do it, can this guy do it? I'm going to just reset the whole conversation here. Every fight is a unique experience. And I'm going to throw another one. This is one of my favorite sort of sayings. A man cannot step in the same, and if you watch my stuff, you've heard me say this 6 times. A man cannot step in the same river twice because it is not the same river and he is not the same man. And that was tonight. Robin, hello from who trains at WAMA. 17-year-old from Gimli who trains at WAMA. Winnipeg Academy of Mixed Martial Arts. Awesome. Fought a guy from there, Eric Perez. He sent me out on a stretcher. It was a big drag, but I really like him, and I love them. Curtis Brigham is a wonderful coach. You said my family knew you at Pinawa. Do you believe that grappling is the most efficient martial art, and thoughts on Taekwondo? Well, my first martial art is Taekwondo. I have a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. I'm a first-degree black belt in World Taekwondo Federation. So that is the global federation. I received a second-degree black belt in a so I think globally, I should probably say I am a World Taekwondo Federation black belt. However, I was also given a second degree in my lifetime. Taekwondo, I love. It's my first love. I was a gymnast and a high diver. I don't talk about it a lot, but I did 1 meter, 3 meter, and platform diving, which, of course, if you're already a gymnast, is a pretty natural progression. Then I moved into Taekwondo, which was, again, a very natural progression. But what's best? And I saw somebody else, say, number one, wrestling, number two, boxing, number three, cardio, number four, mental warfare. I love your thinking, especially including mental warfare. But those categories are so general now. Again, my trip, and I'm thankful that you're on it with me. I'm also fucking thankful, like, only a year ago, everything I'm saying right now got so much pushback, and now I think people are somewhat kinda into it. Somewhat like, I guess maybe the same repetitive shit over and over again, and maybe I've traveled on I'm a little more comfortable in my perspective. I don't know what it is, but people are far less sort of, there's far less pushback on my line of thinking now, which is nice. Not that that should matter. Our jobs, what we do, if we're creative people, if we're, on some type of journey of learning and sharing, the opinions of others shouldn't shape our work. Certainly not too much. Um, because the job, so here I am talking about philosophy and military tactics and whatever shit I'm on right now. And here was striker versus grappler in a stylistic matchup. Somewhere in that process, people are like, I hate this, stop doing it. If I did that, I'd never get to hear where I am now. My view of it, the way that I'm trying to look at things, the way that I'm trying to find something new to understand, break through my own plateaus of understanding and communication. If I stopped here, I would never get there. So the input, or if people are like, I love this. What you're doing is so brilliant. You're the greatest. If anyone ever says that to you and you believe it, you'll also stop there. Stop. You're not supposed to stop unless you want to. It's your life. But if you're on a trip of learning, growing, improving, discovering new things, you got to keep going. And you can stop because you're scared of the negative response, or you can stop because you love the positive response too much. Your fucking trip, if you're an artist, if you're trying to innovate something, and you might fail, you can spend your whole life thinking, I'm 50. I've literally been on a 35-year trip of trying to create something meaningful as an artist and like fighting in a cage. I sung in a rock band. I talk about fighting on TV. I'm trying to build something, find something, learn something, share, learn something from these experiences and share it that's meaningful. I could die in 3 weeks or hopefully, 40 years and never do that. You got to try, right? What are we doing here? How much do you think effect it had on McGregor only having 3 MMA fights in the past 4 years? So you look young, bro. Thanks. My job now, I'm also at 50. I want to have a child. My wife's 34. So we'd like to have one or more children. If I have a child and I'm 51, I'm going to have an 18-year-old at 69. My job will be to be fit and healthy and young. So I got to do it. Um, but how much effect do you think McGregor only having those fights? So that's a narrative. It's one he introduced. It's also one that has a lot of truth to it. You've got to get comfortable in that. Once when McGregor was at his best, he had a comfort level. I, I'm reading a book that I love that I want to recommend highly, and it is by Shannon Lee, which is Brandon Lee's sister and Bruce Lee's daughter, and it's called "Be Water, My Friends." Or Be Water, My Friend. I can't remember, but I'm listening to it on my drives back and forth from Toronto, and I have it physically. I've been reading it as well, and she's reinterpreting his philosophies as discovered by her as an adult, reading through his old materials, and uh, and there's some elements in there about the idea of when you're at your best. So there are times we're watching the world, we're seeing things unfold, and we don't feel like we're really in having that much control over the world around us. That's at parts of your life. The things you are developing a mastery in, and that doesn't have to be technical things like building or fighting or brewing beer or whatever. It can be thought, it can be work, whatever you develop mastery in. You can get to the point that you are very present in the experience, right? Being present in the experience is a higher level of connection to your moments. Whatever it is you do, sitting there trying to play piano, hopefully I can play it. What note do I play? That's where we start things. We play it for a long time. Eventually, you're very present in it. That's what they call flow or the zone or whatever. When you go beyond that, as she put it, translating her father, and I fucking love this, you become the experience. You are the experience. McGregor at his best has been that. It's very difficult to discern. It's hard to quantify. It's difficult to ask people to say, trust me, because I fought 9 times and trained at a high level and did martial arts my whole life and then commentated 400, 500, 600 shows, not fights, shows. So 5,000 fights and traveled all over the world and analyzed fights in all these different ways. I have the ability, I've developed the thin slicing specialized ability to be able to see that as it happens. Very difficult to ask people to believe that because now I'm asking you to jump and understand what is possible to be learned when you work that hard and then accept that that's true. So when I say what I have witnessed him do that, Khabib do that, John Jones has done that, but not always. John Jones' last few wins, he was not living the experience. He was fighting a guy with physical and technical advantages that he executed properly. The greatest fights you've ever seen, 2 of them are living the experience. They are the experience. Carlos Condit versus Robbie Lawler, they are both acquiring that connection. Conor McGregor didn't have that tonight. He wouldn't necessarily explain it this way, but he might. But that's what's happening. To ever achieving that is intrinsically so rewarding. I'm a very happy person. I don't know if you've noticed that. That's not exclusively true. It's not always true. That's not true of any person. But I'm quite a happy person. I'm a very grateful person. One of the reasons that's so is Jay here says Nemkov would kill Izzy and Jan. Nemkov's a badass. Jan is a badass, though. So is Izzy. Bellator versus UFC. We're going to talk about that in another half hour. I've had a shot of tequila and I'm having a beer, so we gotta be cool. Also, I'm wearing a stupid hat. I don't know. I feel good about it. But yes, I'm a very happy person. Why is that? Well, I'm married to my best friend, and I have a great job, and I get to do what I love, which I earned. I had a day job for 16 years of my life while I was in, learning in music and entertainment, and then television, and then fighting in a cage. I had a day job for 16 years, and I took all the money that I earned and I reinvested it in myself. I invested it in personal training. There were times, so my day job was I was a hairdresser. There were times where I would go to work, I would go train at 7 a.m., train for an hour, walk 20, 30 minutes because I didn't have money to travel anymore. I'd made money at other points, but this period right here, I would walk back and do 2 or 3 haircuts, a skill I had worked on and learned when I was young. Then I would go to my personal Muay Thai training. Then I would go back, do more haircuts, and then go back up and train jujitsu. And I did that for like 2 years. And my personal Muay Thai was $65 per session, and my jujitsu thing was $200 or $300 a month. And I was just making enough money to pay my bills, pay my training, and get whatever food I could get within that realm. I did that for years. So I earned this. There's no fucking question. I earned it. But the process of it, the process of traveling along this thing is an adventure. I lost track of myself. It's probably the tequila. Oh yes, happy. Oh, so yes, I do have those things. I now get paid very well to do what I love. And I was saying this earlier on a stream. I don't need to make $20 million a year. I don't need to make $2 million a year. In fact, if I made $2 million in 5 years, I'd be like, holy fuck, that's so much more than I would ever need. I make enough money to live comfortably with my wife, who's my best friend, and be free to continue my study and research into my passion. There's nothing greater than that. So that makes me happy, right? So of course I'm happy, right? Like that is ultimate freedom. I don't have an expensive car. I don't have expensive tastes. I have more money than I need to pay my bills to have a nice life with my best friend and have the freedom to all day, every day, continue to study martial arts and share what I find. That's ultimate freedom. But more than that, part of why I am happy and grateful is there's an intrinsic reward in finding that flow where you are now doing the thing that you are meant to do. You are now finding and hitting the flow. And when McGregor was on top of the world, he was hitting that flow in Chad Mendez, not only against Jose Aldo, but in the lead up and walking on the stage with Mayweather and the things he said and the stuff they shot about him. It was all hitting. It was a result of the hard work he had done, but it was all hitting. And when everything is hitting and you're in that flow and you're living, you are the experience. You're not just present. You're not trying to figure it out. You're living it, truly connected to it. When you're in that, there's an intrinsic reward that is happening. There's an intrinsic joy that happens. McGregor's not living that right now, and he hasn't been. He looked it at a press conference or two, and he looked it in the lead up. He didn't look it in the fight. And here's my thoughts. I know we haven't talked about leg kicks or left hands or timing or whatever, and I know those things are interesting, and they've always been interesting to me. But I'm looking to learn what I can through the study of fighting. But McGregor, his goals right now appear to be: you don't need money, you don't need belts. Belts are a byproduct of success, not a goal. You've got to be real careful what your goals are, and what the difference between what is an outcome of a good goal or a byproduct of a good goal and what is a good goal. A great goal, say for me, would be, really learn something meaningful, create a connection to the reality of what fighting is, and then find a language and a way to be able to share that with people. That would be a great goal for me. The byproduct of that might be you get a really good job, or you get paid to do it. By finding the right goal, you're able to do it correctly. McGregor's goal would be create great moments, reach incredible heights as a martial artist, achieve great things, break through plateaus and actualize yourself to a higher level. The byproducts of those would be belts and money and whatever. And somewhere along the line, belts and money and whatever and fame became goals, and that is to his detriment, and I'm sure he understands that. But in the long run, we're looking at it and saying, what do you want to accomplish if you're McGregor? And the answer to, I would like to do great things and make a meaningful chapter of my life. The short thing is, what do we do? Is consume your whiskey tentatively, stay away from illicit drugs, stay away from sex in ways, relationships and illicit sex and whatever dark shit is related to that part of your life. Stay away from bars, stay away from parties, stay away from yachts and money, and go deep into self-improvement. Go deep into learning about yourself. Go deep into studying the philosophy of life. Go deep into improving, not only improving your ability, but improving your ability to improve your ability. That's what, and the truth is, if that's what we do that's what McGregor does to achieve his goals, that works for all of us. I don't care what you're fucking trying to do. You want to make a lot of money. You want to have your company be successful. You want to, there's a woman or a man you're in love with that you would love, you want to see you in the way you want to, whatever those things are. The answer to them is improve yourself, learn your fundamental weaknesses, look for places you can improve yourself, and become more than you are. That's all our answers to everything. That is the fucking simple answer to everything. Um, I don't, you don't have the job you want. You can't make anybody do it, but you can improve yourself. You don't have the life you want. You can't make that life happen, but you can change the perspective that you have. I'm getting a lot of comments here, and I'm hoping that people are like vibing with what we're saying here. Diaz whooped something. Wonder how much McGregor made tonight. I don't think money is his motivating factor right now. I'll definitely check out that book from Shannon Lee. Also, I love your outlook on life. You seem happy. Ah, thanks. I have self-sabotaged many times, and the best thing I can do is to be a better version of myself tomorrow. So true. Self-sabotage is part of the trip. That's part of the trip. There's nothing wrong with that. You didn't fuck up. That's what people do. We're humans. Humans, we sabotage ourselves. We do it all the time. It's normal. Don't be mad at yourself for that. That's part of the trip. You're supposed to fail. Failure is part of the trip. Setbacks are part of the trip. That's part of learning. I'm sitting here currently 2:11 on a Saturday night, getting to do my dream job and getting to hang out with my friends in my cool studio. No bills to be paid because I'm getting paid to do what I love and to go deeper into it and to continue the journey. Married to my best friend. I got no fucking complaints. My job now is first of all, this is the result of many fuck ups along the way. Many, many, many fuck ups. And the knowledge is I'm gonna fuck some of this up somewhere. I hope not. I'll do the work to not fuck it up. But I'm a person. I'm a human. We fuck shit up. We make mistakes. Mistakes are a very real part of the trip. Setbacks and failures are a very real part of the trip. I was talking about this earlier. I won this. It's a Canadian bantamweight mixed martial arts title. My wife was there. We had just met. It was the first fight she'd ever seen me fight in. I choked the guy out in like 2 minutes. I'd beaten him once already. And they kept publicly saying he wanted to somebody's like something about like, no, we're getting spammed. We're getting spammed with weird stuff. Maybe like I misspoke, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So I won this, and my wife was there. It was exciting, and somebody asked me about it earlier today, and I realized 2 minutes into the answer that I moved away from talking about this and got deep into how much more I lost or more I gained from my failures, my setbacks, the the embarrassments. You know, when you lose in fighting, this is why fighting is so hard. You become, what's the word? George St. Pierre uses it all. Humiliated. Humiliation is a big word, tough word. You know, it is. It's a painful word. Humiliation. You feel that thing. It's not embarrassment. It's humiliation. They're all looking at me, and they all think I'm a loser. That's in your mind, right? But somebody said, "You never fought in your life, pal." I had 9 professional mixed martial arts fights. Well, I don't know. Not everybody knows that. I was not the best fighter, but you are definitely not entitled to somehow judge or critique fighting if you never did it. You can do it if you like, but it's not correct. Man, I relate so much to you. You have no idea, Robin. Well, thanks, man. I'm a bantamweight and I want to achieve a belt like that. Well, the belt isn't the goal. The goal is try to be great. If you are great, perhaps there will be a byproduct like that. But greatness is in and of itself the reward. Yeah, he did. It probably would choke you out. Yes, it's true. Of course I would. Yeah, I mean, trolls are a weird one. Like, because we need to pity these people, right? And I don't mean like pity them like in a judgmental way. I mean, we need to feel bad. Like, imagine living your life in such a way that seeing and then, like somebody said, loser troll. They're not losers. They're people in pain. Like, these are people in pain. And it is not a normal behavior of a healthy individual to spend their time at 2 o'clock in the morning watching something that they claim to hate and being super negative. That's a result. That is the action of somebody in deep pain, right? So um, troll has a tough life. Hang in there. Don't have to troll, brother. Robin thinking the same as me. It's true. And it's the same online. It's tougher in live environments because you're like, oh man, this person's sitting at home by themselves right now, and they're like, they're scared or like worried or insecure about something. But online writing trolls, it's not so bad. You see it and you see them write something on a thing. You're like, this guy just had a momentary, or on Twitter. Twitter's a really interesting one. We're having a cool adventure. There's a lot of people hanging out here, and I'm really thankful. I swear we will do our best to talk about Chandler, Poirier, Connor, but mostly to see what we can learn from it. Yes, I fought, still train martial arts. I have black belts in martial arts, and I have other belts in other disciplines. Martial arts is my life. I've started to move to seeing what lessons we can learn from the study of combat and using that and applying it to our own life. That's what I'm really into right now. Let's see what other questions or thoughts. Let's not acknowledge the troll, but let's not be mean to them either. I'm not wearing a pink hat streaming to random people. No, dude, but you're hanging out looking at a guy wearing a pink hat streaming to random people, being super dark about it. That's way worse. Um, Twitter has the most trolls. Yes, Twitter has the most trolls, but Twitter, when somebody does something on Twitter, and we see it, we shouldn't infer that that says something about who they are. So someone's like, "Fuck you, Conor McGregor, you're the worst. I hate you," or like Dustin, like game bred, something. Especially when you get related to politics or whatever. Those are momentary thoughts. All day long, humans are having quick thoughts, long thoughts, deep thoughts, meaningless thoughts, random thoughts. And those happen all day. If we recorded them all, sometimes you're angry, happy, sad, weird, scared. Like, you're all those things. All day long, everybody is. It's just when you write them out into the world and then they become something like a cave painting where we can all go back and look after and we can infer some meaning from it. We can say, when you said that thing about Donald Trump being awesome or terrible or game bred or Poirier or McGregor or whatever, that this in some way suggests something that we know truthful about you. This is a random fucking thought. with a weird, like such new tool that we don't know how to use it, right? Like, don't judge people's tweets. People's tweets, like, this is a tough one. Sometimes I'll see somebody tweet something. Conor McGregor is the worst ever. Dana, I hate you. Like, and I'm using fighting as an example because that's what we're talking about here. But of course, it exists in all things. And people will be like, that guy showed his true colors. Like, why would you think somebody is defined by their worst tweet? There are 100 people hanging out here right now. None of you are defined by your best tweet, and none of you are defined by your worst tweet, right? Nobody is defined by their best random thought, and nobody is defined by their worst random thought. People are complicated, right? Wow, a lot of nice comments. Uh, we appreciate you. Like a lot of really nice comments. Wow, Robin's a great guy. We love you, dude. Wow, thank you. Wow, holy shit. Just nothing but nice comments. What a nice fucking thing. Listen, let me try. It's been 45 minutes. It's 2:20 in the morning. Uh, I should be asleep by 3. I got to get up and drive back to my home tomorrow. Although I also got to shoot a bunch of detail. Um, shoot a bunch of like details of things and segments and stuff for Bellator and for my own media. But let's actually. So two things I want to do. One, I want to get another tequila. I'll show you my kitchen when I do. And two, let's actually go and talk about the fights. The idea to me that hundreds of you will be hanging out and 40 minutes in and we barely talked about the fights is so inspiring to me. It is so encouraging to me. Um, but so we go back to Chandler. What do we talk about when we look at it? Robin and Dan Hardy, excellent analysis. That's so nice. Thank you. Robin's the best analyst in MMA, hands down. Thank you. Um, but two things I want to say there. One, that's so kind of you, and not true. There's no best. This is an art. There's no art is not something that has scores. We do that, we're like who bet and the Grammy for best whatever is. It's like that was just a group of people who arbitrarily chose a thing. Even like the Academy Awards, my wife's really sometimes like she'll be like, well, let's watch the Oscars. I'm like, well, I love you and you're into it, so I'm into it. But it's just a bunch of old white guys sitting around somewhere saying, well, this actress hasn't what, and they're using their own judgment to decide what's meaningful when a 16-year-old girl from Portugal will think something completely different and they don't have the right to say this is better. Although, excuse me, expertise is a real thing. I do have the ability to tell you that Michael Chandler is uniquely special. I do. And I can tell you it in a way that whether everybody wants to believe it or not, or how people contextualize expertise is up to them. I can tell you from studying, from doing, from looking at things from as many different paradigms, I can tell you that Michael Chandler has an incredibly high athletic platform. He has the ability to learn and implement and execute sort of mental and physical systems of combat. He's got a crazy mindset and he's unique in many, many ways. I have the specialized ability to tell you that thing. You don't have to agree. You don't have to acknowledge that or agree with what I said. But I do know that my specialty has been 20,000 hours has been spent specifically analyzing fighting, and that I know I was once somebody who didn't have this 20,000 hours of knowledge, and now I do. So I can compare it. I've had this debate a number of times. I've fucked it up. This is a big fuck up. Whenever you get into any kind of debate or any kind of discussion, if you become emotional or you become rude or you become obnoxious or you raise your voice if it's something recorded or you type in all caps if it's something like written, you undermine whatever point you're attempting to make. You will ruin your own point, right? So I have ruined this point many times early on, 8 months ago to 5 years ago. Um, but I have the understanding that it is, if you do not fight, have not fought, and even degrees of fighting, you actually don't understand. You cannot understand what fighting is. You cannot develop a true expertise in fighting or truly analyze it factually. I know that because once I was somebody who did watch it, study it, talk to experts about it, etc. And then later I was someone who did that and fought. So I can compare. I've been both. There is no such thing as somebody who fights, trains, is a living martial artist, but has never not been that. Unless they were 1 year old when they started training. So they can't understand what it's like to not have that knowledge. But there is some such a thing as as someone who has never done any of those things and only consults with experts or parrots what they hear or studies the work of others who did do that stuff. So to understand this thing, you must actually physically connect to it. At the very least, you could do everything else, but then if you also were able to make that understanding physically, mentally, emotionally, you would enhance that ability, right? So, but I fucked up that discussion many, many times. Let's take still that troll, eh? Wow, poor guy. Um, GSP took 4 years off and had issues coming back and moving up a weight class and won a belt. So that's a really fucking amazing, amazing point. It's an amazing point that will be and should be brought up because the narrative will be, and fairly rightly so, an actual narrative within this discussion is Conor McGregor has been inactive, and as a result, is not as connected to the realities of the fight as the people that he will fight and has fought and fought tonight. So that's true. Um, what's his name? Dominic Cruz came back and he fought an amazing Mizugaki, an incredible Japanese fighter. Somebody put it here. Uh, um, Dominic hadn't fought in a long time, came back and fucking smoked Mizugaki. George came back and fought Michael Bisping up a weight class and was able to defeat him. That's a really, really good point. So it is not exclusive. It's a great point. Does it upset you how quickly people turn on someone when they take an L? I really like that question a lot. And my first answer is, yeah, I don't like that. And then my second answer is, I should not let that bother me. The behavior of other people is something we cannot control. And so it's something that we shouldn't concern ourselves with. My root philosophy as it relates to a question like that is let it go. You know, don't let that bother you. But my knee jerk reaction was, yeah, that sucks, man. What a drag. Um, I think both are true. I think my human reaction is, oh man, people should be cooler like that. Don't they understand like how hard these guys work and so on and so forth. But my, thoughtful, try to live my beliefs reaction is you can't control others. You can't control how they behave. How they behave is just a part of life that you have to accept as a truth, unless you can change it and you want to dedicate the time to change it. I believe I have a tiny, tiny ability to influence how people perceive fighting. Very small, very, very small. Um, you know, but it's something. But I don't think I could change that in the short run, anyways. In the long run, I think if people see fighting in a different way, it may affect the way that they make these judgments. So, as a half the as a half the Brit, I'm disappointed in not seeing any Thai fighters in the UFC. Why aren't there any? Well, there's a lot of Thai fighters in the UFC, but in the long run and in the grand scheme, There are no wrestlers in the UFC. There are no Thai fighters in the UFC. There are no boxers in the UFC. There are no jiu-jitsu players in the UFC. There are only combatants. There are only free fighters. Um, you know, because it doesn't matter what you did last time you fought. So you went and you fought in Thailand and you had a Thai fight, or you boxed or you wrestled. Doesn't matter what you did last time. When you get into the cage or the ring to fight in a mixed martial arts contest, you are fighting in a free fighting environment. So it doesn't matter where you come from. So let me go. Let's take a walk to my kitchen where I will have one more tequila. I will hang out with you guys for another 15 minutes, and then I will head to bed. So my wife collected and still Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles paraphernalia, which was probably, to be honest, it was not like the thing that made me say, "Oh my God, she's right for me," because I already thought that by the time I found that out. But I was like, "Holy fuck, that's so cool!" So when we got married, I secretly got us. I said, "Let me take care of the wedding cake," and then I got a wedding cake made with all four Ninja Turtles leaping out of the wedding cake, which that's pretty cool. She was thrilled, and I was happy I could do like something. You wanted, I mean, I can't speak for all of us, but you're hoping, if you are lucky enough to like have a partner that you dig, you're hoping to be able to like sometimes impress them, sometimes you know, sometimes surprise them. And life's busy. You don't always do that. And obviously, on your fucking wedding, you should hope to do that on your anniversary if you can. Um, that's what you should attempt to do if possible. So I was glad I could at least do that. But yeah, so here we are. What else can we do? Let's take a look. Bernie versus McGregor. That's funny, right? That's really funny. If anyone has any like very specific or concrete questions for this last segment that we're going to hang out, at Robin Black MMA on Twitter, just go on a different thing, throw it in there, and send me like a concrete question, and we will dig into it. What else can we? What else can we discuss related to McGregor and Poirier? Cheers. One thing we can. It's troubling, but it's human. We're all going to spend a lot of time talking about Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier won that fight. He went out. He lost a fight to that man years ago. He went on an adventure of learning and growing and becoming not only a better fighter and a better martial artist and a better combat sportsman, but a better human. I don't think, I think we all get that Dustin Poirier is a good person and that he's trying to do meaningful things in the world. Then he came back, faced the guy, handled the pressure, the worry, the thought, any anxiety, the weight, and then fucking defeated him. Right? I mean, that's so inspiring. That's so honest. That's so real. That's so legitimate. And and he didn't always do that. He lost important fights. He lost that Khabib fight. That was the fight of his life, and he lost. Conor McGregor coming up, he lost. And he won tonight. Hands down, free and clear. No fucking, no controversy, no weirdness. Went in, and there's a lot of things we will talk. People are going to be like talking about leg kicks. They're going to be talking about, there's going to be two or three main narratives. The real key, and I said this on Sportscenter tonight. So I had 9 pro fights myself, and I got to talk on the mic after my wins and a couple of losses too, because people knew me, and I was in my hometown and stuff. And I've also, in the job of commentating live shows, I've probably interviewed, I'm going to say 300 fighters, because of the 3,000 to 5,000 fights I've commentated, many of them have been video or recorded or, making best ofs or whatever. So I'm going to say 300 fighters, could be 500, I don't know. And in those moments, they're so deeply connected to those moments. They're so present. They're so alive. I remember them so specifically, not only the ones I'm the guy being interviewed, but the ones where I'm interviewing them. And, Dustin Poirier tonight, it was standing in there, and that had to feel fucking legit. It had to feel so good. It's weird too, hearing him after say, I don't love this. I want to go home. He won. But you know what he's talking about? The weight of it. Wasn't like it was effortless. And that's the narrative will say, oh, he went in, he was prepared, he was the better man. It was effortless. He landed the leg kicks. He defended the takedown, or he, got the takedown, handled the wrestling, never folded to the pressure, and then put him away. That's what the world will say. But Dustin Poirier knows it was fucking heavy. It was heavy, man. Like, it was heavyweight. He carried it all, and he handled it. And it wasn't easy. And I hope he never thinks it was easy. Fuck, I hope he never thinks it was easy. I hope he always remembers how hard it was. It's tough. It's tough though, because time changes our memory. Tonight, in those moments, he knew it was fucking hard, but he did it anyways. Very inspiring. It was very inspiring. And that's what we should remember of it. And yes, like I said, the leg kicks, we'll be talking about that, but it's not really that. That's not the difference, right? I've spoken to them and I've looked them in the eyes and I've seen them and I've known, and there's things that you learn that are very difficult to explain. And if I say something, somebody who doesn't recognize or consider what they might have learned if they applied 20,000 hours of learning, it's impossible for them to theorize or think about that. I would say the things I'm going to say now, and they'd say, "Well, how's that possible?" Or they would say, "Well, explain. What do you mean?" And they want you to do it in a tweet. This is fucking 20 years of my life. 30 years of my life. I started training martial arts when I was 8. So 42 years of my life. I can't explain it in a tweet. But what I can tell you is, by watching that and by connecting to it in ways that other people don't connect to it, and turning off the narrative and experiencing the fight, and I connect to it in a different way. If you've seen my 1700 breakdowns, you're like, oh, how does he see those things? I'm fucking connected to it in a different way. It's not because I'm special. It's a result of the work I've done. Just like Dustin Poirier as a result of the work he's done. What I can tell you is the key turning point in it is Dustin's comfort. He's dealing with it. He's dealing with it. He's dealing with it. And then there's a moment where McGregor is hurt. And Dustin understands it's real. And McGregor tries to reject the fact that it's real. McGregor needs to, and I've seen this a few times in his life, but it's true in many fighters. The more you are serene, often the harder it is to, and this is I think this is interesting. The harder it is to recognize when panic is the appropriate response. And these are the real thin slices of true greatness. McGregor panicked too much when hit by Nate Diaz in that moment where he's wobbled and tired, and not enough when he was hurt by Dustin Poirier in those moments. And that sensitivity, that connection to they wrote, my friend here wrote Diaz. Yes, in that moment where Diaz hit him, McGregor panicked too much. When Poirier hurt him, he didn't panic enough. You have to understand when panic, when sort of defaulting to, and panic is never a great thing, but there are times where it's like there's nothing but panic that can be done here. Staying chill and trying to find it. What happens when Poirier hurts you, as somebody who is truly sensitive to the moment that he's writing and creating in this moment, he senses that if I pour it on now, I'll end you. If you sense that, And I know that the words I'm using are insufficient. You have to think of this as a psychic communication that is being done without words between the trained brains of two, you know, both savage and evolved, and developed humans. Um, but you have to sense that I now sense that it's time to pour it on. You have to then respond appropriately. McGregor stood and threw. And if one of them landed, it could have created hesitation in Poirier, but Poirier fearlessly poured it on. And then he landed the other one. It was a left hand that hurt McGregor. When McGregor was hurt, he didn't realize that it was time to panic. And panic is not the perfect word, but it's time to go on high alert. Maybe that's a better way to put it. And Poirier could tell he didn't, and Poirier stayed in there with him. And then he landed a right hand, and it was a short right hand. I think it was right. I forget. Usually, these are fairly imprinted on my mind. I see a replay once, and then it just stays there. I mean, again, I don't know if I have to try to prove sort of how I see this to anybody, but there are 1,800 breakdowns on the internet. If you'd made 1,800 of anything, you have to assume you learned something in that process, right? And so in that process, I see that, and there is one key one. There is a lack of recognition of the high danger, and there is the other guy, Poirier, is recognizing that lack of recognition of the high danger. He pours it on, and he ends him. And that's it. Not the leg kick, sure, it helps, but not as much as the narrative. And once the narrative happens, and Conor McGregor says it, and then Dan Cormier says it, and then the internet says it, and justbleed420.net says it. I always like that one. I was like, just bleed 420. Something about the sound of that. It's so MMA to me. So like American MMA. And all of a sudden it's the truth. But the thin slice of it is that moment. He's hurt. I know you're hurt. You're not as understanding that you're hurt. And I know what to do in that moment. That's the end of the fight. That's the end of the fight. And it's a beautiful thing. And then, McGregor was doing his best to explain his flaws. And I respect that. And everyone should respect that. People hate McGregor less than they used to. And it's partly because whether you love someone or hate someone, it tends to be as a reaction to their behavior. You didn't decide on that reaction. I shouldn't say the word, yes, reaction. Reaction is unplanned, knee-jerk reaction. Response is trained or planned. I act like an asshole. Your reaction is to be mad at me. You're mad at me. My response can be to be kind. My reaction would be, fuck you too. My response could be planned, thoughtful. A response is trained or thoughtful, prepared. A reaction is something that just happens. We're a stimulus response animal. Somebody punches me, I cover my head. That's a reaction. You train long enough, somebody punches you, you move away, you put your hands up, right? A response happens from training. A reaction happens from neurology and from genes and environment and good luck and good fortune, right? A lot of people just popping in right now, which is cool. I guess a lot of other people. If people are popping in, we're going to have our last tequila here with them. Thank you for hanging with me. Still on my first beer, but I am on my third tequila. So, hey. I can't promise I'm going to be smart, but I can promise that I'm thankful that people want to hang out with me and talk about stuff. Cub Swanson boxing stance wasn't helping him. I don't know. Cub Swanson, his last fight looked pretty fucking good to me. I'm gonna take a couple little comments that have popped up. Maybe people came over from somewhere very technique oriented. People, technical analysis. That was something I used to be really into in like 2015, 2016. You do enough looking and studying technique, especially if you're training, especially if you have some private training, some coaching, where as you're studying the technique, you're doing it physically and then getting to spar it or tech spar it. Over time, you realize that technique is actually less important than you think. Technique is very important when you don't know the technique. Once you know the technique just becomes a part of the background knowledge, and then it becomes about strategy and distraction and tactics and flow and comfort and communication, telling lies to your opponent. It becomes about everything other than technique. When you don't know, when you don't fight, you'll look and go, I guess it was the leg kicks. But when you do fight, the leg kicks are simply a tool. I've said this before, and I find it myself interesting. People in fighting, will be like, "Oh my God, beautiful left hook, amazing! Like just such a gorgeous double leg takedown." That would be like literally saying, so Prince was a musician; he passed away. That would be like watching Prince perform in a concert and saying, "Oh my God, what a beautiful guitar! Just incredible strings on that guitar." It's just tools. The double leg takedown is not amazing. The right hand is not a big right hand. These are simply tools like a guitar or drums or a paintbrush. They're not they're not inherently beautiful or wonderful. We just say that because it sounds quite good in our broadcast. You know, a lot of people seem to be arguing with trolls. If trolls have popped up and they want to like hang out with us, just let them. It's okay. You don't have to respond to them. Um, if people are having a tough time, it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, wherever they are or whatever, and they're having a stressful time and they want to lash out, just let them, right? You know, just let them. We're all just doing the best we can, right? Think about that. The technique is what is beautiful. See, that's not true, my friend. Donnie Brasco. That's the layer you're seeing it at now. But the technique is simply the tool. The kick is the guitar. The punch is the paintbrush. The person, the expression, the freedom to swing the brush this way, or the when you hear a blues guitar player play guitar, you're not hearing the notes, you're hearing their life experience. When you see a great fighter, you know when you see Michael Chandler fight tonight, you're not watching Michael Chandler throw an amazing left hook. You're watching Michael Chandler express his desire to build a life for his son. That's what you're watching, you know? That's what you're watching. Um, Imagine how many lives you've changed. Wow, dude, no, I can't go there. People you've influenced and unconsciously possibly changed someone's life. These are nice thoughts, but no, I definitely can't think about that. Um, a double leg takedown is not just a tool, it is a tool being used. It is a hammer swing, not a static hammer. I like that, my friend. I like that. Um, what I'm talking about, oh, I love that. What I'm talking about is the language with which we say it. I'm not talking about the tool. I'm talking about the way we speak of the tool. So Khabib will do this thing, and me, Cormier, Joe, the best ever, will say, "Oh my God, what a beautiful double leg takedown." We are saying, "What a beautiful hammer." We need to find, or really create the language with which we can say, "Look at the lifetime of training that this, you know, craftsman has used to use the hammer in this incredible way to build this beautiful like piece of furniture." That's what I'm trying to do. And we're being super limited. Somebody said, "This is really interesting, honestly." Thank you. What an incredibly kind, simple comment. But this is fucking the trip I'm on, man. This is the trip I'm on. Um, it really is. Like, we are trying to figure out, we're getting to a point. Imagine this. So I'm going to reset for a moment. Imagine the greatest paintings of all time. Robin, can you please make me a mod so I can get rid of bad comments? Okay, my friend, please send me that exact note on Twitter, and then I'll follow you, and then we'll figure it out. I don't know how to make someone a mod, so we'll have to figure that out on Twitter. So send that to me, and I'll DM you, and then we'll figure it out. So imagine the greatest painting that you'd ever seen ever in your life, like ever in human history, or the greatest song ever, or like the greatest plays ever written. And imagine that we decided that it would be logical to explain them in 2 minutes of sound bites, and then think that those sound bites actually explain them. That's nonsense. That's like disrespectful to human history. The greatest plays ever written, the greatest books ever written, the greatest songs ever written, the greatest physical performances of all time, the 4 minute mile, Khabib Nurmagomedov's fighting, whatever. To think that we should be capable of explaining this level of human genius in 17 words or 100 words or 140 characters or whatever is absolute insanity. It's insanity. The reason it happens is because we took these great performances, the greatest singers and dancers and artists and fighters and football players, and we presented them into a box that we had in our homes, and we created a broadcast and now we'll cut to the expert and cut. And I'll sit there and I'll go, well, I'll tell you what, right now, like if he needs to defend this takedown, he's got world-class striking. But if he can just keep that distance, utilize his jab and step to the outside, set up that straight right hand, he's going to be successful. And no. But what if this guy, if he could just use that fake takedown and use a lot of feints and occupy that guy's attention. Use that to set up his ability to close the distance, take this man down, and light him up. He's got knockout power, but all of that is fucking nonsense. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And our problem is that we've done that. We've done it with sport. We've done it with art. We've done it with entertainment. We've done it with politics. We've done it with news. We've done it with science. And all of a sudden, we're trying to convince each other that these tiny, tiny, never mind sound bites. Now we're doing it in memes. Like now this means something. Ooh, wow. And now this means something. Like that means something political. Like we're doing it in memes. We are taking the most complex, some of the greatest moments, some of the greatest accomplishments in human history, and we're saying that it is illogical, that they should be explained. Things that take a lifetime to achieve should be explained by a guy in a suit at a desk with some lights in 40 seconds. And then the camera moves to the other guy and he disagrees. And then we all watch it and then we emulate that behavior on Twitter. Makes no fucking sense. Makes no sense. How the fuck? Like, I'm gonna get ready to sign off because it's probably time for bed for me because I just had my third tequila. I'm still on my first beer, but 3 tequilas in less than 2 hours is probably more than I need to be after a long day of work. All you have to do is right click on my name and make moderate. Even that's too much for me right now. Please just tweet me and then I'll follow you and then we'll figure it out. And I will make you a moderator. But imagine all of that somehow striker versus grappler in a stylistic matchup, that sentence should in any way give any of us the belief that we understand this incredible dynamic between the trained nervous systems and bodies of human beings that have dedicated their life to these moments. Impossible. Nonsensical. Absolutely nonsensical, right? Completely nonsensical. And and here we are. So, Mod Squad, thank you. So cool that people are hanging out. So let's take a couple questions. Vacation. McGregor should take a vacation. He's over. So, couple of thoughts. So a few things. I'm going to see if anyone has written wow, we got a lot of comments on questions that we can answer. But so I like that you said vacation because only a year ago everyone's like, this guy needs to retire. I get that we can all sit around from wherever we are, and for whatever reason, we can recommend that somebody stop doing that thing that defines their life. And sometimes we'll sit there and we'll say, well, this guy's got brain damage, bro. Like he's got to protect himself. He's got to like live. He's got to have kids. It's like, that's his life. By no all we live in a free society. We live in a completely free society where, we are able to live our lives the way we want it. And I shouldn't say completely free, but as free as, we have in modern history. If I wanted to fight, so I'm 50, I was a low level competitive professional mixed martial artist. Yes, I won this belt. I don't brag about it much, but after 3 tequilas on a Saturday night, I might mention it. Um, and Canadian bantamweight title, low level, but something. I also lost a lot, and but learned a lot. But yeah, we're free to do what we want. If I wanted to fight again, I live in a free society. If the doctor said that I was safe to fight, I could fight. I shouldn't fight. I want to be a father. I want to be healthy. I definitely shouldn't fight, but I could. I'm free to do so. When we say often, it's like, oh man, Ben Rothwell, he got knocked out tonight. That guy should definitely retire. That's so offensive to me. I shouldn't be offended because people are free to say what they want. But, we live in a free society. This is this person's life. If you want, if you gather all the information available about the dangers of working in a coal mine, about the dangers of fighting in a cage, about the dangers of, technology, about whatever. You gather that information, and with all the information available to you, you make the decision to take the risk to do that thing. That's your right. And that's how I feel about these fighters. So when somebody's like, and earlier somebody said that McGregor should take a vacation. That's a very, very thoughtful and kind and modern way to put it. Because, like I said, a year ago, people would have said, that guy needs to retire. What the fuck are you? Like, it's mostly people who've never taken any risks in their life saying, please stop taking risks. Life is about risk. Depends what you want to accomplish. But saying, yes, he should take a vacation, agreed. He took brain damage tonight. He took brain damage. He should absolutely take a vacation. Now low kicks are mainstream. What's the next new technique to come? So low kicks have been mainstream for a long time. We just haven't found the mainstream answer. So why? Let's not. It's difficult to predict the future, but we can explain the past. Why are low kicks happening? 2008, 2004, say. We'd start, we'd throw some punches. Those punches, we'd move towards each other, and inevitably we'd grab each other. When that happened, we'd wrestle. I'd try to take you down, you'd try to stop it. But we were now wrestling. That was just a fact. Stephen Thompson, Holly Holm, Conor McGregor, and many before them that pioneered that, they started fighting at a longer distance, moving around. If you can't touch me, you can't wrestle me. You're going to try, I'm going to hit you. People are like, why didn't you try to take Robin Black down? Well, Robin Black was fucking 17 feet away from him. To take someone down, you must close the distance and grab a piece of them. Stephen Thompson and people like that were just stopping you from doing that. And Anthony Pettis, when he started moving into that realm, many, many, many of them. It was a whole movement. At the time, in 2013, I called it the movement movement. If you go on YouTube and go Robin Black Fight Network movement, you'll see we were projecting that. When that happened, everyone's fighting a distance. All of a sudden, wrestling's irrelevant or becoming much more irrelevant. Kicking, moving away, drawing people in and striking with them becomes a new thing. If we're fighting far away, when we're fighting close, wrestling becomes a key active ingredient in how we're going to execute everything. If we're fighting farther away, that's not so. So what happens? Well, if we're this far, what starts to sort of take shape? My longest weapon against your closest target. So we're fighting. My longest weapon is a kick, and your closest target is your calf. That's why that happened. It was random. I commentate Letway. Letway is a martial art from Southeast Asia, from Myanmar. It's a Burmese boxing martial art that's been around for 2,000 years. Nobody kicked calves a lot because it just didn't make sense, because we would walk towards each other, we'd kick each other's legs, punch each other's face. Kicking calves didn't happen because we didn't fight that far away, because there was no point. For 2,000 years, that wasn't a thing. All of a sudden, it's a thing. Then when it's a thing, finally in 2015, when it becomes a thing, we start seeing guys kick calves and legs go limp. First 6 times, we think it's random. We think it's just some sort of incidental thing. Then 10 later, 12 later, 15 later, we're like, holy fuck. When you kick somebody's calves, like there's a nerve there and it deadens the foot. Then they can't move. Holy fuck, this is a kill shot. We didn't know about that kill shot till 2014, because nobody ever had to throw it, because without the paradigm of free fighting, which we call mixed martial arts as a sport. Free fighting is the art, as I see it, but mixed martial arts is the sport. Without the paradigm of mixed martial arts, nobody ever had to move away from each other, because they didn't have to deal with the wrestling and the danger of all of that. And without having to move away from each other, they never had to target longest weapon to closest target. There was no reason to kick the calf. Fucking smash your thighs. Logically, that would give me a higher payoff. But in reality, the calf gave a higher payoff. But we never learned it. We never figured it out. In the realm of thousands of years of martial arts study, this is one of the byproducts of modern free fighting. So now we know. So reacting to it and dealing with it is a new thing. And it's going to take 5, 7, 10 years of layers and layers and layers of reactions until we figure out exactly how to do it. It'll be 2026 until we really can functionally say what the truth is about dealing with it. And even then, what you never deal, and this is an investment thing. Don't play the news, play the reaction, right? Man, we got a lot of people here, so I'm going to try to lay this out for you. So I'm going to try to lay this out for you in the way of like finance. So the housing market is dropping. That's news. If you play the news, you go, shit, the housing market is dropping. Let's sell our house. If you play the reaction, you say, the housing market is dropping. Everybody's going to sell their house. So let's wait 6 months and buy a cheap house, right? You don't play the news, you play the reaction. So the calf kick is the same thing. The calf kick is the news. The real layers, the real understanding of how this is going to impact fighting in a 10-year span is if you kick the calf long enough, people will react a particular way. That way will be the answer to the calf kick. And that answer will be predictable. And anything predictable is exploitable. So right now, I kick your calf, it hurts you. Yay me. Soon, I kick your calf, you do something to counter or stop it. Yay you. Soon, I kick your calf, you do that thing, and I penalize that thing. Yay me. That's playing the reaction, right? This is everything about fighting. If you leave with nothing else tonight other than Robin Black's wearing a stupid hat, that is everything to it. Conor McGregor wasn't surprised by the leg kicks. They prepared for the leg kicks. But Dustin Poirier prepared for his preparation of the leg kicks enough to make it work. You don't play the news, you play the reaction, right? I'm blown away by how many people are on the YouTube channel. I'm blown away by how many people want to hang out and chat, but it's probably time for bed. Or is it time for another tequila? I don't know. Let's see. We're going to go to the kitchen. We're going to pour one. And we're going to go back and scan some of these. So If you're just joining, this is my kitchen. And yes, my wife does have a Ninja Turtles collection tequila. And we're reading some comments and questions. Wow, it's how on earth earn hundreds of followers just by sitting around talking about fighting. So we're going to have this, and then we're going to say goodnight. Still on my first beer, but 4 tequilas is a lot for 2 hours. All right. So we're taking questions. We're taking 5 questions, and then we're out. All right? Is that the deal? People are like, I don't trust him. I think he's definitely going to have another tequila before he, gets out. You have wrinkles. No shit, I'm old. People are weird, man. I would throw this out as a comment to that. Whatever you judge in others is going to be real tough to deal with in yourself. So, for example, when you're young, if you're like, that guy's bald, man, you're judging that. When you start losing your hair, it's going to be real tough on you. So you're like, you have wrinkles. I mean, I'm 50. Fuck, I didn't just show up here. I earned this spot. I had a day job for 16 years while I gathered all my skills until I started working as a and then fighting as a martial artist and then doing shit on television I earned this spot. And when you do that, when you live the long road, you're going to get old. And when you do that, you may wake up one day at 50 if you're lucky and be like, fuck, I finally arrived at a point at 50 where my life is good. If that's you and you're like, dude, you have wrinkles, imagine how bad you're going to feel, right? Like how you judge others is going to definitely negatively affect you, you know? Like I said, um, Rob captures kids and wow, it's unbelievable how weird like the whole troll thing is. What do you think about the weird state Dustin is? He beat Connor. Khabib doesn't seem to want to fight. What do you think will happen? Okay. A lot of times we're going to talk about that kind of structure. But for the athlete, and I think this is a good lesson for all of us, you can't control any of that shit, like at all. If Connor won, he couldn't make Khabib fight him. If Connor lost, Dustin couldn't make Khabib fight him. If Dustin knocked out Connor with a head kick in 6 seconds, he couldn't make Khabib fight him. If Dana won, like you saw Dana White, and it was funny. Like, hey man, like this is trending. Imagine you guys. Like, I get it. Dana's fucking life is promotion, building this, getting people like jazzed for this. So Dana is saying to Khabib what Dana prioritizes. Dana's like, bro, like, man, this would be so big if it was you and Carl. And Khabib's like, that's not. We all think different, right? We all think different. We all like see the world differently. Khabib sees the world different than Dana. So Dana's job, and Dana's smart. I know Dana pretty good. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I've spent some good time with Dana White, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And he offered me a job, and we've broken down fights together. And he flew me down to Las Vegas to shoot something for ESPN. And like I've always enjoyed every moment I've spent with Dana. Um, what he prioritizes, and he knows this, and what Khabib prioritizes, or the audience does, or you do, or I do, is different. But Dana's smart enough to try to, over time, adapt and understand that everybody's needs are different. But Khabib, I mean, money's not going to motivate him. Power's not going to motivate him. Fame's not going to motivate him. So you're where you are. Do you think Dana wanted Conor Khabib? Of course he did. Dana's a promoter. Promoters, and this is not only not a judgment, this is like an admiration. Like I admire, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like real focused thought. I admire, like, I am someone who has specific goals, specific ideas, like a specific, like, I'm single minded. I'm single minded. And single minded people like single minded people. Single minded like thinkers like other single minded thinkers. So when Dana's like, man, we got to make the biggest fights. We got to like get people excited. We got to put on these big things. We got to like create like epic moments. Fucking get that. Get that. Admire that. Always admire that. But that doesn't excite Khabib. You want to put anything together. And this applies to all of us. Like all the best things I want to talk about apply to all of us. I like when I work with these guys, I like the company, I like the people, I like the fighters, I like the audience, I like how it feeds my passion. I get pumped, right? If you create a burger or like a soda or whatever, if your audience likes it, if the if you like it, if the company likes it, if it benefits society, like it has to work for everybody. The simplest deals in the world, the simplest, like, you know, all the best deals are deals that work for everybody. If you're happy, your partner's happy, your consumer is happy, and your banker is happy, and your wife is happy, and everybody's happy, that deal will work forever. Right? That's how that works. It's hard when no, you don't know how to make the other guy happy. And for Dana White or the UFC, they don't know how to make Khabib happy. You know why? Because Khabib's already happy. Khabib's done everything he's ever wanted to do. He's got his family, he's got his life. You know, I can relate. I can tell you how I relate to Khabib, and I don't. I've spent time with him, and he's been very kind to me and very cool to me, and you don't have to ask too many people. Everybody loves Khabib that knows him, but I can relate. I don't need anything. I need to hang out with my wife, my friends, chat about fighting with you guys, and be able to continue my search to learn more things about my passion, to continue my deep dive, dedicating my life, maybe another 5 years, 10 years, hopefully 30 years, into learning about something that I can establish and share and try to create a meaningful impact on it. If you gave me $300,000, I'd be like, wow, thank you so much. I don't have to work for a long time. If you gave me $900,000, it would mean no difference to me. I don't need a big car. Khabib has fucking 8 million. If you give him 4 more million, it's meaningless to him. And that should be something we admire because the rest of us don't have that. And greed is not necessarily good. Greed is not a motivating factor that is important, you know? Greed is not something that should like send us all like marching out into like going to do things we don't want to do. We should find ways to create an environment for ourselves where we can do the work we love doing. That's what I'm doing. That's why I can relate to Khabib. He doesn't need to do any of these things. If he found a fight, I know what Khabib wants. Also, by the way, he wants to fight George St. Pierre. I know that, and I know George wants to fight him, and I know that whole thing wants to be put together. And the UFC is super resistant to it. And George is like, I can't make them do it. And Khabib's like, I can't make them do it. And Ali and George's management is like, I can't make them do it, but they'd all love to do it. And other than that, Khabib doesn't have to fight. George is staying in shape. Khabib is staying in shape. And if that fight happens, they'll fight each other. And if it doesn't, they won't. And that and must be frustrating. And I get it. I get it. Dana's a guy, and this is what we love about him. He makes shit happen. Can't make this one happen. Make this one happen, you let those guys fight each other. Stop doing that to his YouTube. He should wear whatever he wants. Oh, yeah, somebody was like, take off your hat. It's like, I mean, come on. 150, 200, sometimes 300 people want to hang out, hear me talk about nonsense, wearing a stupid hat. Let them. Don't judge them. They're allowed to watch a dumb guy wearing a stupid hat. just as much as I'm allowed to do it. But they're also so off topic, but um, trolls are allowed to also knock you. Trolls are allowed. Trolls are having a hard time. The world is very stressful. Fuck, I think we all know it. I think we all feel it. I think we all experience it. If somebody is sitting around at 3 o'clock in the morning, going on YouTube, stressed out of their fucking minds, and they want to yell in all caps at somebody, let them do it. They need it, you know. Anyways, I'm shocked by how many people keep adding to the YouTube channel late at night, and I'm honored and I'm humbled. But I should go to bed. But I'll tell you what I will do. It's 3 o'clock, 8 hours. Let's call it 7 hours sleep. 10. I'll come back up at 11 o'clock Eastern time in the morning, and we'll reconnect to some of the more thoughtful concepts about McGregor, Poirier, um, Michael Chandler, my guy, Mike. I'm so happy for you. Um, and yeah, 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. Let's come back. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. It's like a fun. It's freakishly generous of you to spend your time with me. Really, honestly, it's encouraging, and it you know, I'm hoping that 2, 3 years from now, we'll look back at this and go, God, Ron, like, why are you wasting your time talking about dumb shit? But dumb shit on the road is part of getting to smart shit. Setbacks, failures, uncertainty. We got to take this trip. This is how we get there. I love you guys. I really do. I really, really do. This is so, I'm so thankful. Thank you for the encouragement. And until next time, enjoy the hostilities, my friends.